of August 13th, 2023. Is it your forecast? Is it my forecast? Let's just call it the forecast for the week of August 13th, 2023. Couple of it, well, one real exciting part to the week at midweek. But before we get there, we should mention that retrograde Venus is going to conjunct the Sun on Sunday the 13th. Well, that's an alignment, even though Venus is retrograde, that's an alignment of the solar principle of what we are, who we are, what we're about, and the Venusian principle of relationship, graciousness, and love. And so it should be an interesting time. Now, with Venus retrograde, we're looking pretty much for an internal process. But if you've been taking this retrograde time to say, I wonder what it's all about for me in terms of Venusian matters, this is probably a pretty good time to get a little bit of notice on that. Now, for people that are in relationships that are kind of in a bit of a tipping point, tip to one side or tip to the other, we're probably looking at this as being the next big part of the story, let's call it. We've recently, in the earliest hours of Sunday, but we've been feeling all through the weekend that the opposition of Juno, the partnership asteroid, about partnership commitment at the very, very end of Cancer, where she really wants partnership commitment, opposed to Jupiter. So that's a real tipping point kind of aspect. And then we have this Sun-Venus conjunction. It can be very much about realizing what it is that you truly do want in terms of relationship. The other Venusian matters are also implied, things like finance and aesthetics and luxury items and stuff like that. But coming off of that Juno-Pluto opposition, we have to describe the difference between Juno as the partnership asteroid and Venus as the planet of love and relationship. Here's the easy way to think about it. Venus is about the relationship itself. It's about relationships, okay? And it's what you want, what you value in relationship. Juno's what you've got. Not what you want, it's what you've got. And what is your commitment to the relationship? You can go read on the mythology of the goddess Juno, Jupiter's long-suffering wife, and if you can pick up on some of the stories there, you'll see that it really is about partnership commitment. So that's how we begin the week. That's how we begin the week, with the Sun-Venus conjunction. Let's think of this as being a bit of an internal time. Sure, it's an internal time. You know why? Because the moon is in the sign of Cancer. That's, again, pulling us inward at this, because it's waning into the new moon on Wednesday. We feel this energy pulling us inward, particularly later on Sunday, Monday. We really feel the kind of winding down energy that brings us into the new moon on Wednesday. Very more internal processes, you'd think, except for the fact that this new moon is tightly square to the planet Uranus. So the sun and moon are both going to square Uranus over the course of Tuesday, Wednesday. The new moon technically is on Wednesday. What does this tell us? Well, Sun or Uranus aspects in general are about independence. And with the Sun in Leo, this is very much about independence, the need to break free, to do what you've got to do for yourself. On a good day, when things are going well, when you're at your best, and I'm sure you are, when you're at your best, this is about saying, I'm going to do for me what I need to be done, because that's really kind of key. I can't do for others if I haven't taken care of myself. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what enlivens my life. This is what makes me feel good. This is why I'm here. And I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to rebel against any constraints. Sun in Leo, square Uranus. That's an easy and efficient description of what that is all about. Sort of the same thing with the moon. Now, you probably figure that this is a volatile kind of aspect, this Sun-Uranus aspect. And it is. It is a very volatile aspect, but it's happening at the quiet of the new moon. Does that mean that nothing's going to happen? Not really, because the moon is waning. The lunar energy is low. Well, the sun's not waning. The sun's strong in Leo. So the expression of this aspect may be a little bit muted, but it's not really going to be dampened down all that much. In fact, there's a possibility of taking this energy and sort of imploding it. Right? I mean, a Sun-Uranus aspect could be about, I'm going off and doing what I want to do explosively. At the new moon, it might be more implosive. It might draw us inward a little bit. And that's not good. That's not good. So watch if you feel that tension building. Find a good, healthy outlet for it. Even though it is the new moon, it doesn't mean you have to sleep all day long. It would be okay to sleep all day long, but don't sleep all day long, especially if you feel this sort of tense energy building. In fact, the new moon will probably have the greatest effect on group activities, collective things, parties. But I mean, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, parties. It's summertime though. Any type of group meetings that you might be having, your local astrology group or anything like that, probably have a bit of an effect on group meetings more than anything else. In terms of, if you're doing stuff by yourself, not so much really. Probably a little bit less energy than you might otherwise have for things, and maybe a little bit more slowed down and internal with things, but not necessarily nothing happening. So the new moon itself is at 23 degrees of Leo. And if you happen to have placements right at 23 degrees of Leo, sun, moon, any planet, ascendant, midheaven, if you have placements at that angle, you're really getting ready for a new beginning. New moons are always times of new beginnings. And in Leo, it's whatever's the Leonine area of your life. It lands right at, say, between 22 and 24 degrees. You have placements, and this new moon is at 23. It's really hitting you strongly. New beginnings in that area of life, particularly because not only is it the new moon where you're starting something new, but it's squared by Uranus. You've essentially been having a Uranus transit to that 23 Leo point. And this is a significant chapter in that experience that lasts about a year. So if you have placements at 23 Leo, which is, lots of people do. I don't have anything at 23 Leo, but lots of people do. So it's a fine placement to have. New beginnings in the area of life that is signified by that part of your chart. Okay, that's just a little something. Immediately after the new moon, you think things are going to be quiet? Not at all. Not at all. We take that energy of the Sun-Uranus square and it morphs into a trine between Mars in Virgo and Uranus. Again, Uranus has got his fingerprints all over this week. Now, what does a Mars-Uranus trine do? Innovative action. Innovative action. Changes in the way that we do things. Now, Mars is in Virgo, where it really helps with very particular types of things. This is the sort of watchmaker kind of placement. If you're a watchmaker, if you like doing little tiny bits of work on electronics and things like that, this really gets a boost for that. For most of us, this could be a good time to begin a home project. This would be a good time to do some sorting. If you have to, you got to clean out the closet or the garage or something like that. It is a good time for things that require organization, but perhaps reorganizing, doing things in a different way. with that Mars-Uranus energy, because Uranus is giving extra energy to Mars in this very earthy sign. So we've got a practical sort of feel to it. But Uranus wants to change things up a little bit. And that reminds me, since we're talking about organizing things and so on, that Mercury is deep in the shadow of his retrograde. He'll be turning around to retrograde next week. And as far as I can see, Mercury is in Virgo, his own home sign, and it is already, things are way mercurial retrograde already. So this is probably going to be quite the retrograde. So yes, innovate and change things around, do preparation. Mars in Virgo is happy with preparation. Find new ways to do things, but be aware that Mercury is going retrograde soon, and you're likely to encounter some of that. The moon, as it waxes through Virgo, just getting there, let's say by about Friday night, will be adding some fuel to this. Now, let's not call it a fire, but it'll be adding some fuel in helping you to get things going. By the weekend, we have a crescent moon. It's starting to feel a little bit bigger. Eventually, it's going to go into Libra. And it's, well, Scorpio, but that's next week. More or less, what we're looking at over here is a weekend that should be, let's call it manageable. Next weekend will be manageable, the weekend of the 19th and 20th. The energy is there. We can do things. We'll be able to use that Mars-Uranus energy for a little bit longer because the moon will be helping out. I would kind of guess Saturday is probably the better night for going out because the moon will be a little bit further along in the process of waxing, although I think Friday could be fun too. Well, we'll see. Let's do that. Let's do an experiment and see. Also, for those of you that have watched all the way to the end of the forecast, not the dilettantes who watch a couple of seconds or a minute or two and then go on to the next video that's up on their thing. For you that have watched all the way through, I want to tell you that from now on, the never popular monthly forecast will be given on the last Saturday of the month prior at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Now, that means that, just give me just a moment over here while I check. I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. That would be, for example, August 26th. This month will be the period of time in which we will, August 26th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, the monthly forecast live stream. And if you have questions about it and so on, it's kind of fun to dish about it. And after I give the forecast, we can talk about it. And I will leave that up, as I don't always do with live streams, so that you can watch it later on if you're so inclined. More or less seems to be a subscriber thing to watch the monthly forecasts. Okay, well, now that we have that out of the way, go have a good week.